Check, check, check. We recognize the call. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Georgetown. We are very happy you have joined us this morning. We're going to create a space, a sacred space this morning of just love and affirmations and meditation, singing, laughing, sharing, and just being in this presence. And just, I kind of thought about it, it's like, just imagine you're in a hot tub, but it's filled, but it's filled with spiritual energy, a loving spiritual energy. So you come in here to kind of just get, revitalized this morning. And so try to picture that as we sit in this togetherness. So anyway, welcome, and we are a positive path for spiritual living. We are all-inclusive. We are love-based. We honor all paths to spirit, but we have a particular following of the life of Jesus as an example. But we just bring in from everywhere, because when it's all said and done, we're all one. And that's the fundamental difference between unity and tradition. We are all one, this oneness. And we're not separate from God, never have been, never will be, not possible. But we can be separate from God in our minds, and that's what we teach. And also that what we believe in our minds, we experience, becomes our reality. And I've been talking about that lately, and we'll talk about that today some more on the biology of beliefs, something that I talked about sometime way back where, and how we're beginning to understand that everything affects because we're one, everything affects everything and everybody in this beautiful oneness. So anyway, I do want to thank you for being here once again and remind you that we envision also a spiritually transformed, peaceful world, and have that vision in mind always. So once again, welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Georgetown, a spiritual breath of fresh air. Do we have anyone here for the first time this morning? If you're comfortable, you may talk to us, say hi, your name, where you came from. If you'd like, no pressure.
My name is Jill.
Jill?
Jill.
Okay.
And I've only been here 4 weeks.
In Sun City?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Where did you come from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Wonderful. Well, how did you hear it? Are you familiar with Unity, or?
I heard it. I've tried Unity churches in different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
We used to move every 3 to 4 years. But I wanted my greatest spiritual comfort came from a meditation group I belonged to for years, since 1985. And they were located in North Carolina. So I used to go there 1 weekend a month and spend the weekend. And it was quite wonderful. They were quite advanced in spirituality.
Well, very good. Well, we welcome you here today. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Maria Riley. This is my husband, John. We are new to Texas, new to Sun City. We've been here almost 4 months. And we're looking for a new spiritual home.
What was your name again?
Lorraine Riley.
Oh, Lorraine, I talked to you.
Talked on the phone.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm glad you made it here today.
From Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah. You're sitting right next to Miss Brooklyn right there, so. So a couple of announcements. First of all, don't forget to silence your phones if you haven't had a chance to do that just yet. you know that we started, and it's interesting. We're going to do it. I think we settled everybody. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to mention there's a new stamp out with this picture from the Webb telescope.
Oh. Oh, that's awesome stuff. Yeah. Kathy's into cosmology. I am way into cosmology, but but anyway, we're going to start the study group, I believe, Wednesday. Everybody is okay with that? Wednesday, 9:30 at the Legacy Park right across the street. We're going to do this book, Integral Christianity, and I just want to get the group started. Remember I told you we used to have a group I used to call Let's Get Metaphysical. Not physical, metaphysical. And so I'd like to start it back up, and part of it is doing this, and part of it is doing TED Talks, and just get together, and I want to know more about you. You hear me talk all the time, you know, but I want to hear your ideas. So we're going to start Wednesday, 9:30 at the Legacy Park right across the street. AM. Yeah, AM, because it's actually very nice and cool out there in the shade. Oh, bring a lawn chair. We could probably sit in the pavilion. Nobody really uses it. But bring a lawn chair just in case. I've been reading out there almost every morning lately. And it's so wonderful to be outdoors and reading this kind of material. It just transcends you into another world. You're going to enjoy it very much so. What else do I need to say? Oh, the other book for the book club is that You Are the Universe. And I started to read it. We're skipping July, but I think it's like August 23rd when we're getting back together. And I started reading it again. I read it a long time ago. And it's funny, I didn't do this on purpose, but we've been talking about going through stages of development and unfolding as humans and as a humanity in the last month. And so we began when kind of egocentric, and then we get into family, and then the country, then the world. Well, now we're at the universe level at this, where the mind is that far out there in this oneness. So I would encourage you to get the book and come join that book club too. We meet at the Owl, what's it called? Larkin Owl, downtown, on the 4th Tuesday of the month. So it'll be in the newsletter. Anyway, so I think that's it for our announcements. And so let's stand with our opening song.
I feel the Spirit moving in me. 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 I feel the love 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 moving in me. And I feel the joy moving in me. 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 I feel the Spirit 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 moving in me.
Where's Anne? Oh.
Well, good morning. We'll begin now by lighting the Divine Order candles. So this is the Divine Mind, the source and creator of all. Divine idea that we are spiritual beings, ideas in the mind of the Creator. And the divine expression of God, unique and perfect expressions for each one of us. And now let's join together in our prayer of intention. Living Spirit opens our minds, opens our hearts, touches us all deeply with love, and sends us out as agents. Agents of love, agents of peace, agents of justice. Amen. Sorry, stepping back, but there aren't any children here to send off to Sunday school. So I was waiting for Dan to play something, but no, gotta turn the page. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. I'm ready now. Thank you very much. So now please join me in affirming our statement of being and our vision and mission statements. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. Centered in God, we co-create a world of love, peace, and abundance. We are a thriving spiritual community, inspiring and empowering individual and global transformation as exemplified by the life and teachings of Jesus.
Today's daily word is let go and let God. If I find myself ruminating over a concern or a weighty decision, I release its grip on my attention by letting go and letting God. When I let go, I am placing my trust in divine mind, the source of infinite potential. I believe there are solutions to remedies of which my limited human mind simply cannot conceive or even plan. When I let God, I am trusting the grace of God will bless my life in the most wondrous and even surprising ways. Letting go and letting God is how I live my faith. I surrender to spiritual truth, the presence and power of God, and believe the best outcome is going to be so much better than anything I can imagine. I affirm I let go and let God and relax into knowing I am deeply loved and abundantly blessed. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God and believe also in me. John 14:1. And today's affirmation is I bless myself when I let go and let God. And I believe it's on the board behind me, if you'll repeat with me a couple of times. I bless myself when I let go and let God. I bless myself when I let go and let God.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, that sets us free. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
Thank you, Dan. So it's now time in our service for community prayer. And so I invite you to become comfortable in your chairs, whether you're here with us in this space or you're watching from home. Just let your hands rest in your laps. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. And let's just take this moment to take a breath. Become connected to Source, to Spirit, to God. As Reverend Tommy reminded us, we are never separated from God, but we can feel separate from God in our minds. And so in this moment, I invite you to remember that connection to God. As I was driving here this morning, the sky was so pretty. While I'd love to see rain clouds, the clouds I did see were beautiful. The sky, the blue, was beautiful. And while we know this is another hot Texas summer day, there is still beauty all around us. And while we may be concerned for many of the things that are happening in our world and in our community, we know that there are people who are suffering from heat. We know there is danger from fire. We know that there are people who are ill, people who have lost loved ones, but we also know that God is present in each and every moment of our lives. And know that there is much to be grateful for as we think about the things that bring us joy. Family, friends, loved ones, animals in our lives, music, poetry, being together on a day such as this. There is so much to be grateful for. And I invite you in this moment to bring to mind people, places, situations that are heavy on your heart, that you wish to place love and prayer and affirmation of good. To just take a moment to bring all of those situations and people to your minds and to your hearts, knowing that God's love is stronger than all things, and that love brings peace and comfort in ways that we may not expect, in ways that we wouldn't perhaps have asked for, but we know that it is there. So take just a moment in your hearts for all those concerns. And if you wish to speak them aloud at this time, you may, or just hold them in your hearts. And now let's close our time of prayer by singing an ancient prayer, a prayer handed down through the ages that affirms God's realm manifest in earth as it is in heaven, our Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
So we have a few moments right now for a spiritual practice and meditation. And those of you who have been here before when I've been doing this, you know that gratitude is one of my favorite topics. And I came across a quote yesterday, or actually this morning, that just felt perfect for today and what I was feeling today. And it is, despite everything, life is full of beauty and meaning. Despite everything, life is full of beauty and meaning. I really believe this statement, and I also know that there have been times, sometimes rather recently times, when I have forgotten it, when I have felt overwhelmed by the other parts of life around me that makes me forget that despite everything, life is full of beauty and meaning. One of the ways that I try to bring myself back to that place is through gratitude, because I think that statement is about gratitude. It's being grateful for the beauty and the meaning in our lives that we see no matter what else is going on. And it's that connection with God, with Source, with Spirit, that we are reminded that that presence is always there. And that presence helps us to know that no matter what the outward appearances are, no matter what we're experiencing, no matter what is going on in our lives, that God is still there, and that is the beauty and the meaning of life. When we're in situations where there's suffering or uncertainty or fear, it can be easy to forget that. Or when we feel inundated with what's going on in the newspaper and on the radio and on the television and in our own, each state Congress and our national Congress, all the politics, and I'm not being political, but the strife that is there, no matter what we believe individually, creates some challenges. And I've been kind of triggered by some of that lately, and I was reminded that it's so important to remember all the ways that we are alike, rather than to focus on the ways we are different. And again, that brings me back to knowing that life is full of beauty and meaning. And that doesn't mean that we ignore the things that are going on around us that are real. We don't substitute happiness when really what may be going on is a richness of learning and growth that comes out of things that it can be negative and hurtful and harmful. So I don't deny what's difficult, and I don't put a positive spin on what's happening, but I do try to look at it in the context of what I know to be truth. I do my best to walk through life with my eyes and my heart open, and I attend to what is life affirming and what's beautiful and what's moving, that's also alongside feelings of brokenheartedness. So this topic probably today, and this kind of the context of this, is that many of you know that I'm a chaplain in a pediatric hospital. And this week, for the first time in 2.5 years, we were able to bring families in for what we call a celebration of life, and we invite families who have lost a child. We used to do that 3 times a year. And so for a period of maybe 6 months before that, 6 to 9 months before that, those families were invited to come together and celebrate the lives of those children they lost. Well, we haven't been able to do that for 2.5 years. So we actually had 2 services this week and invited about 75 families. We didn't have nearly 75 there, but the people who were there were the right people to be there. And although that was a time where there was some sadness and some tears, there were also joyful stories that were told about these children. Not intentionally, but the same week, yesterday, I was at a bereavement camp where we also invited a number of families to come, the whole family to come together and spend time together as a family at Peaceable Kingdom, which is a camp that's outside of Killeen. So we, again, did not have a large number of families, but the right families were there. And the whole family was there. So we had little bitties. We had children who were born after the time that the other child had died. So new children brought into a family who hadn't been there before, and siblings who knew that child, and sometimes young siblings who didn't really know the child, but knew stories of the child. So there was a lot of laughter, and there were a lot of tears, there was a lot of joy. And it was an opportunity for those families to be families, which several of them told us at the end of the day was really hard to do. And they were so grateful to have that chance to just be together as a family. So at this camp, there was a reptile house where the kids and the parents and the people who were working there got to go in and see and hold and touch snakes and lizards and turtles and tortoises, and I learned the difference between a turtle and a tortoise yesterday, which I didn't know. I can't remember which is which. One lives in water, one can live land and water. I think the turtle is land and water, the tortoise is water, but I didn't know that. I just knew there were 2 words. But they were there, and they were these little kids, were touching the lizards, and I did too. I did all those good things. I touched the snake, I did all that stuff. There was also a rock wall that I did not do, but I observed. But there were teenagers and adults who climbed the top of a rock wall. And I don't know how many of you have done a rock wall, but they are hard. And I was so struck by the joy at getting to the top of this rock wall. It was amazing. They got to the top of this great rock wall. And then the elation when they zip-lined down afterwards. I think it was like 100 feet. So it was a lot. It was a big thing. At the end of the camp, some of the families told us that they were just so grateful that they got to just come together as a family and do family things. And in the context of people who knew what their loss was, understood it, because either they, like myself, worked with families who experienced loss, or they were other families who had experienced loss, and how joyful that was for them to be able to talk about their child and remember. So I had those feelings of joy and sadness too, because I worked with quite a few of those families in their time of loss. But it made me realize how grateful I am for their courage and bravery to come out, and for my blessing at being able to work with them. So I'm so grateful for that for myself. And I share these stories today as a reminder for us to use our gratitude, to practice gratitude in all things, not for all things. It's thankfulness in all things that gives us the ability to work through those times when things are hard. So despite everything, life is full of beauty and meaning. And that quote is from a woman named Etty Hillesum. I may be mispronouncing it. And she was killed in the Auschwitz concentration camp in 1943. But that quote came from her and from the work that she did before she went into the concentration camp. So there's always an opportunity to have that gratitude in all things. So I'd like for us now to have this opportunity for a couple of minutes in silence as you reflect on your own lives and the gratitude, even in spite of challenges that we all experience. But there is still beauty and fullness and meaning in our lives. So let's take a couple of minutes in the silence. As you come back into this time and this space, I hope we can all continue to remember and believe that there's beauty and meaning in all things, and express our gratitude.
I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. Inside there is peace, inside there is joy, inside there is more than enough. Inside there is peace, inside there is joy, inside there is secret love.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Penny. So how's that spiritual hot tub feeling right now? Pretty good, right? Yeah, I think so. Well, you know, this is the part where I have interjected this part that we call laughter is the best medicine, because, you know, we do need to laugh now and then. And so I'm running out of jokes, so if you guys have any. So I found one that, you know, it's okay. It says, sign on a business bulletin board. This firm requires no physical fitness program. Everyone gets enough exercise, jumping to conclusions, flying off the handle, running down the boss, flogging dead horses, knifing friends in the back, dodging responsibility, and pushing their luck. That's a lot of workout. They're probably in a really good shape, those people. Today's topic is the biology of beliefs, and it's something that I had read a long time ago, and it just kind of fit into what we've been doing lately about, do you remember my mantra when I first got here? I have a mantra. We have got to change the way that we see things, because perception is really important. So there's a saying, it says, give a man a fish, and he will eat for a day. Show a man 2 fish, and he will eat for the rest of his life. I think we've all heard this. And where does it come from? From the come of the Bible? Well, there's a lot of fish stories and fishermen and fishers of men stories in the Bible, but it's not from the Bible. It's a Chinese proverb. And I think we all get an idea what it means, but I looked it up and it says, it is of more worth and longer lasting to teach someone to be independent rather than to give them temporary support. Now, I would agree with that, and I think you probably would too. And I wanted to start the lesson this way this morning because it's important to reiterate that in Unity, this is what we're trying to do. We want you to spiritually learn to fish, which is to say, to think for yourself, to take responsibility for your own spiritual journey, to find your own path, and to realize that you are the master of your fate, a powerful co-creator of the universe. Now that's changing the way you see things. And on page 17 of the book, 5 Principles, and by the way, I'll be doing the 5 Principles, maybe in September when everybody gets back. Reverend Ellen Davenport says, she calls a section that she writes, says, God for grown-ups. So it's kind of something like that. And now the view that we are having an interactive experience with the universe is a major difference of the way that we're beginning to see things. And I can't overemphasize how important this is. And I'm sure I've mentioned, I don't think I mentioned in the last few times, but one of the books said that we've actually, in our conscious evolution, we have become co-creators with the universe. We're part of the creation process. We can't separate ourselves from it anymore. Creation is not something that's happening around us. It is something that we are making, that we are creating. And this realization of this creative power, this massive creative power that we have, should take your breath away. And if it doesn't, hold on. It will. So one day it's just boom, and it will. Last week I finished a series of talks about how we've been evolving and changing and going through stages individually as well as humanity. And I refer to as taking a trip to the mountaintop, going up there and just to a higher elevation and looking at things of where we've been, where we are, and where we may be going type thing. And hopefully it gave us all a better understanding of this journey, this infinite spiritual journey that we are on. And what got me going in that direction was I had been wanting to share the very first lesson I ever did in Unity. And the minister was going on vacation, and I was the president of the board, and he says, try to keep it light. And I went, yeah, I can do that. Sure, light it is. So what did I call it? I called it the reconciliation of science and religion. I was trying to keep it light. I don't know how to keep things light. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. The general theme of the talk was that early on in our human experience, we didn't have this schism view understanding of life, where there was heaven and there is earth. It was more of a continuum type thing. That's what they thought. But along comes Christian doctrine and set forth the idea of separation. And then came along Newtonian physics and just sealed the deal on separation completely. Now, Newtonian physics, fantastic as it is, converted the universe into a physical machine, because all the formulas and everything he uses for his differential equations or whatever, calculus and everything else he made up. How do you make this stuff up? I can't even understand it if you explain it to me, let alone making it up. Anyway, only took into account physical properties. That's it. Everything else, they called it only matter matters. And this is important to understand, because everything non-physical, spirit or any talk of anything, such a thing, was eliminated from the equations, and thus, in effect, God was removed from the universe. And the mission for science became dominate and control. And that's what Bruce Lipton talks about in this, dominate and control. And it was also the time of the Darwinian evolution, about survival of the fittest. And bottom line, these things that fell in what we were talking about, the stages, the modern stage, reduced us to powerless victims in an alien universe. That's who we became. And this position had a 300-year stronghold on us, on humanity. Because, and at the human level, this science, this Newtonian physics had the foundational in what's called the medical model. The medical model is what doctors and everybody uses, even to this day, their approach to medicine. That we too, like the universe, are machines, biochemical machines. And so they take the approach that that's how they heal us. So they have two tools, pills and surgery. That's it. That's all they got in the whole toolbox. And so along comes Dr. Bruce Lipton. You're familiar with Lipton, right? Everybody, a lot of people, probably good. And Dr. Lipton is a biologist, and he was working on stem cells back in the 60s. And sometime later, he became a teacher of medicine at the University of Wisconsin, teaching the medical model. But along the way, he started to realize that what he was teaching and what he was doing experiments in was not consistent, because he started reading about a different kind of science, about quantum physics. And he said, this is not the way things are going. What we're telling people is not the way things are at all. So science began to take on a new stage of development. And this 300-year hold, when they really felt that they had a solid understanding of everything, really started falling apart. And so quantum physics just blew that all completely out of the water. So back to Dr. Lipton and this micro world of very strange acting particles. He began to experiment, and he said, I can't do this anymore. I cannot teach medicine traditionally, knowing what I know about things. And so he had to resign, and he moved on, and he began a whole new way of looking at things. And today's topic is the biology of beliefs. Now think about that topic. The central question is, what do our beliefs have to do with our biology? And the answer is everything. Everything. The fact is that our beliefs do influence, affect, and even change, he says, our biology. That's how strong our beliefs are. Our body responds to our thoughts. And that's what we teach in Unity. So we're kind of ahead of the ball, but science is catching up a little bit. And modern medicine has begun to recognize this, the importance of both the patient and the doctor. Because we have this reverence of doctors. My wife works in a hospital for 40 years. And you know, a doctor walks in and tells you something, you believe them. And that's key to this. But things are starting to change. And here's the funny thing. The effects of what we believe, both positive and negative, manifest in our lives, whether it is true or not true. That's the strange part. Now, let me show you an example. You're walking down, you're in a big city, walking down the street, middle of the night. The lights are kind of flickering. You can't see very well. And so you look around and you're like, gosh, I'm the only one out here. And then you see something that looks like a man in the distance, a rather big man. And then you notice, like, is he holding something in his hand? Is that a gun? What starts to happen? You start getting into this strange feeling. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, you start to sweat, and you get into the perception of danger. So what happens is that you enter what is called the fight or flight mode. And Dr. Lipton tells us we only have two modes, fight or flight or growth. That's it. And when you're in fight or flight, your body prioritizes your body, and it sends adrenaline to your arms and your legs, to everything that has to do with getting the heck out of where you are. And so what happens to the growth at the time? It is shut down, essentially. It's shut down. And so all of a sudden, everything changes, though, because the lights come back on, and you see that it's just a pile of trash. And that's all it was. But what just took place? You reacted to what you perceived, to your perception. And that's key to this whole belief stuff. Was the danger real? No, the danger wasn't real. But was your reaction to the danger real? Yes, it was. Because why? Because you believed it. You believed it was real, and your body responded accordingly. What's the point here? That the body neither cares. He says the body doesn't care or is concerned with whether what you're seeing or you think you're seeing is real or not real. It doesn't matter. It responds to your perception of it. That's what it responds to. And he said the cells, so he gets down to the cell level and he says the cells have receptors. And they're feeling what the environment is all the time. And so they're adjusting to whatever the environment is. Our biology changes, the cells change according to the environment. And the biggest influence that that the cell has is us, our thinking, our thoughts. So the question is, what are you telling your cells? Are you buying into illness? Are you buying into limiting thoughts? Do you question your ability to heal yourself? I read somewhere the guy says, be careful what you think. Your cells are listening. Really? And we're knowing this now. But you know, we all need help. This is why we're here. Because we all need help with this. Why? Because just think about everything I just said about the environment and reacting to the environment. What environment did we grow up in? I grew up in an environment where we were pitiful sinners, born flawed, in need of a savior. This is the environment. What do you think that's doing to me, to my cells, and to my entire being? This is not a good way to grow up. It really isn't. But Let me put a couple of key points together here. Because I told you before that there's two general modes that you can be: growth and protection, fight or flight. Can't be in both. And so, generally speaking, and obviously, we want to be in the growth state. Sure you do, because that's where we flourish. But and the protection mode is only made to be temporary, to get yourself away from that saber-toothed tiger or whatever it is that's chasing you. You know, you get all this energy, and the mission is to get out. But once you do, you start to get out of that protection mode, and you need to. Because what happens, see, this is where it starts to fall together. What happens when you don't? What happens when you're in an environment, and thank you, Penny, for bringing that up, because I was going to do the same thing. When you turn on the TV, and you see that Kim, whatever his name is, at Korea, wants to push the button of a nuclear bomb. Or that Putin is doing this. Or that our politics are crazy. Or all this other stuff. We get ourselves into a stress mode. And what's a stress mode? Fight and flight. And when you're there, where are you not? You're not in a growth state. Do you see how this works? And why? Because that's what you believe. That is your perception of the world. That is why it's so important for us to come here and kind of get into this spiritual hot tub. I like spiritual hot tub. We need that re-energizing. Like Penny says, it's so easy to get away from, we know what the truth is. In your hearts, everybody knows what the truth is. But we see all these things to the contrary. And it's so easy to get off course. It's very, very difficult. This is why we practice mindfulness. Another thing that Dr. Lipton says is that 95% of the time, we're operating from the subconscious mind. 95% of the time. And the subconscious mind, now that we know about computers, we can say that the conscious mind is a processor, and the subconscious mind is a processor. Only the conscious, and then you got your superconscious mind. Well, he says the subconscious mind operates at 1,000,000 times more capacity than the conscious mind. That's why you can drive, I said before, from here to Round Rock or something, talking to somebody about something, and all of a sudden, like, where are we? You're completely in subconscious mind. And it's so much powerful that it can get you, it can do this. But, so, Lipton says, I'm not a religious man, but when he started unfolding all these things, he realized that, gosh, this was what Jesus was saying. Jesus was saying the same thing. What do you believe? Your faith has made you well. That one time when the two blind men come up to him and say, Master, Lord, will you heal us? What does he say to them? Do you believe? Do you believe? Why? Because without their belief, without their participation, it's not going to happen. You have to be part of the process. Healing starts from within. And that's where it starts to change. All things are possible, it says, for those who believe. Belief is everything, because that's what changes everything. It changes the environment, it changes our chemistry, it changes our world, it changes everything. What do you believe? So this book, that one CD is like 8.5 hours long. So to condense it to 20 minutes, I'm trying to just pick out some points here and there. But the problem is that we've grown up, as I said, with a lot of misconceptions, both from science and religion. Religious told us that we were separate from God and everybody else. And science tells us that we're separate from nature and everything else. And that we're victims of our environment. And that we have genes that control us. And we didn't pick our genes. And we can't change our genes. But Dr. Lipton comes along and says, that's not true. Those are all misconceptions from before. Lipton says we can change our genes. Now, to us, that sounds like, what do you mean change your genes? How many times have we brought up, you can't change your genes? Yes, you can, according to Lipton. You can change anything. We're that kind of powerful creatures. We just don't know it. And we don't believe it because the same reason. We weren't brought up thinking that. We got to really work on this. So anything. And remember about that thing, only matter matters? Well, turns out there's really no such thing as matter in the first place. Right there? It's kind of just, I said before, matter exists on a need to exist basis. It exists for a little bit while you need something or want to have an experience or something, and then it's gone, boom. So remember that we live in an interactive universe. This is really fundamental, and we need to remember that and be mindful of our perceptions, be mindful of our beliefs, and be mindful of what we take in. Let those other thoughts just fly by because you really don't need them. You really don't. They're of no good to you. So I want to leave you with one thought that I said a little while ago. Watch your thoughts. Your cells are listening to you. What did Myrtle Fillmore do? She changed her biology through her thoughts. Have a great week. So now comes the time when we do our love offerings. And we take our tithes in our hands and in our hearts. And we ever grateful for this wonderful spiritual community, and which it really is. And I'm so glad to see Penny back. We've missed you. And we take this love, and we say it together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love, and I trust God.
Everything I see, everything I do is blessed by your hand, God. I give it back to you. Everything I give, every thought that's true is magnified in kind, God. I'll give it back to you.
Send your energy forth to the tithes and offerings. And together we say, we bless and dedicate these tithes and offerings as an expression of divine love. And we release them to manifest that love in our community and in our world. And so it is. We don't have any children today, so let's just conclude today's service with standing up and singing our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally.
of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, I am, and all is well. Penny is our prayer chaplain for today, and I'll see you Wednesday, 9:30 at the park across the street.